That new heart's still a rock star. It seems to be reasonably happy in its new host.
I want this for him.
Y'all know this thing gonna start acting retarded. I just got on here. It was acting just fine. But you guys, the Maryland first heart transplant from a genetically modified pig. You guys hearing this? Mind you, it was not even just a regular pig. It was a genetically modified pig. Is this like nuts or what? Here's genetically modified pig last week and continues to, well, his doctor's late Bartley Griffith. The transplant team at the University of Maryland to be reasonably happy in its new host. They're talking entire entity. It's in a new host. It has more than exceeded our expectations. Oh my gosh, this is absurd. 57 is now off of the machine that he kept in 45 days, including several days after the surgery. He is breathing on his own and speaking with a quiet voice. Griffith had a plan to it. This is not a talking about this pig heart like it's an entire entity. Would you listening to this? Pig heart got rock and roll, and he was so stable that we elected to it, is what he stated. In a video recorded by the University of Maryland Medical, Bennett's son, David Jr., said that his father can't wait to get out of the hospital and is grateful for the groundbreaking surgery that might give him that shot. My dad's a fighter, David said. He was chosen to do this. He chose to do this. He was chosen to do this. He was fearful before the surgery. Researchers, including the University of Maryland School of Medical physician scientist Mohammed Mohuddin, had been working for decades to develop pigs whose organs can be used to address the global organ shortage. Right now, more than 100,000 Americans are on a wait list for an organ transplant, and about 6,000 die each year while waiting. Now, my question is, why is this? Why is there such a shortage of organs at this time? Is it because now the sex trafficking has been put to an end? Because now you guys are not able to use these particular entities to create new organ donors by these stealing of lives, stealing of bodies, the 800,000 people that go missing each year, the sex trafficking, organ stealing, organ harvesting, so on and so. a lot of these freaks and have been arrested reason that there's been a shortage. So it's said that this particular had been working on this groundbreaking GMO organs. So they're GMO organs, right? Haven't had a chance to look into these organs, what they're made from, considered to be used with. So the researchers included in the University of Maryland School of Medicine, physicians to be to address the more like Bennett never make the list at all. Bennett was not considered a good candidate for a heart transplant because he has often missed medical appointments and not filled prescriptions in the past. So he wasn't too concerned about himself, right? Years of heart transplant surgeries have shown that people who aren't good at following doctor's orders, they don't usually survive long without a donor heart. Bennett had also not considered a good candidate for an implantable device because he had uncontrollable arrhythmia, right? All right, guys. And you guys are reading this. I'm on an important call. Give me a few more minutes. Just keep looking at this. I know you guys can read it. Check it out. So you guys seeing this, right? Crazy. It's like their ancestors. They just want to get closer to them. I'm confused. It says the University of Maryland medical doctors breathed a sigh of relief when Bennett's body did not reject the heart on the operating table as soon afterwards, a condition known as the hyperacute rejection. This can happen with any organ. When there's something in a transplant, a person can have a rejection of that particular organ. So they were looking to, make sure of that. It says, excuse me, until that point, it has been a major epidemic to animal to human transplants. So they remain concerned about Bennett's infection risk and the chance that his body will reject the heart, risks that occur with many of the organ transplant. In released video, Mahouddin said that he was touched when Bennett thanked him. A successful pig to human transplant was great. The doctor said, but the primary goal was to save Bennett's life. Is what was their goal. So let's go ahead and get this pig heart. They remain concerned about Bennett's infection risk. In a released video, he said that he was touched about it, and that thank you, he said, that it meant he understood that he had been what he had been doing, and it meant to him that he understood that he agreed to it and what happened to him, and that it was very emotional feeling. Da, 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 da. Griffith said he also found Bennett's thanks extremely moving. Wow. Thanks for this pig heart. It just set me back on my heels, Griffith said. I should be thankful. I should be thanking him for all that he has done in terms of his willingness to participate and be a guinea pig, basically, and how much work he put into getting well and into cooperating with the plan, even though he wasn't cooperating with the doctor's orders earlier. He didn't follow their rules. He didn't tell him what he needed to do. If he wasn't following those rules, let's see if he's going to do that now. That's what they were saying. David said that his father's gratitude reassured him that his dad didn't regret volunteering to be the first person ever to receive a gene-edited pig heart. Dave Bennett Jr. and Sr. on the left. On the right, this is the photograph from January the 12th this year. He just had the surgery, guys. The guy's 57 years old, and he agreed to be the first to risk this experimental surgery. The first time the gene-edited pig had been used on an organ donor from the University of School of Medicine. That provided a lot of peace of mind to me and the medical proxy, as his son said that he's been supporting his dad. I wanted for him, and I wanted for the rest of the world, but he's got to be willing to fight for it. So it's got to be it's good to see that he's doing that. His father still faces a long road to recovery. He's been lying in a hospital bed since November, so he's lost a lot of muscle and strength. So to be honest, he doesn't want to be here, he said. And it was hard watching him suffer. So this is why he probably volunteered. He didn't care if he died or lived, obviously. David said that he's been telling his father how much other people believe in him and are praying for him, and reminding him that his dog, Lucky, is waiting at home. He better hope he don't try to get into him for that pig heart. Ben is very strong-willed and very private. Bennett said of his father, but he's also a generous man who volunteered for the surgery so others could benefit as well. Regardless of what happened, he wanted to help people, David said. He contacted Karen Wintrop of the Quantrop and USA Today. Health and patient safety covering of the USA Today is made possible in part by a grant from the Missamy Foundation for Ethics. So what do you guys think about that completely absurd freaking story? Peace to everybody. The first ever pig heart, and he volunteered. He said that he wanted to go through it so no one else had to go through it. He said that, look at him and his nice doctors and his son. He said that he went through it so no one would have to go through that again. And if he made it, then baboon organs, they ate to baboon. They said they were with the pig to baboon. So if they to these two, okay, I got a little delay again. Here's the stupid thing though. These two animals, right? They all are part of this particular gene pool, right? That's like already inside of them, so that would coincide. I don't believe that this would work with a certain or particular race who don't actually have these particular genes in a part of their genome, correct? I don't know what you guys think about that. Let me stop sharing for a minute because, of course, it's going to act more retarded. StreamYard. So, oh, this thing acting so retarded. Yeah, peace, y'all. Let me put the invite out here. Somebody give me a response to this because right now I'm at a kind of loss for words. What are y'all feeling about this? What are y'all thinking about this? Is this like shocking? Does it not shock you? Does it sound like the normal thing that they would do? Does it sound like this what they should be doing? Does it sound like this is something that is normal? Does it sound like a GMO pig heart would fit into a GMO body? I'm just wondering. What is this? This is like crazy. Wholeness, bro. I know you just missed the whole thing, J Mike. This dude just got a pig heart, a GMO pig heart, a genetically modified pig heart. They experimented on transferring the pig heart into baboons, and it worked. So they said, hey, let's just try a human. And they did it, and it worked. Anybody have anything to say about that? This is a very short live. Just wanted to get up here and talk about that. I don't have much more to say about it. It's totally absurd. It's kind of, I guess, normal. You know, I mean, like I said, the genome fits, so I guess they could just, play with that particular thing. I don't know. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there, guys. That they are literally now experimenting because there is a lack of human trafficking that they're able to do right now. They have been busted. Half of the perverts and freaks and weirdos and the corporations and companies that participate in the human trafficking and the sex trafficking, they are shut the hell down. So now all these organs that they were getting before, they're going to have to find other ways to compensate, right? This is what it sounds like to me. Mm-hmm. All right, bro. I hope you're gonna join me, bro. We can get on another topic. I actually had something else I want to go over too. But when you get up here, maybe we'll tackle that. But yeah, this right here, crazy. I definitely want to hear an opinion about this. Anybody can get up here on this shit. This is like real crazy. Real crazy. The absurdity of it all, right? The ludicrous behavior of these people. Okay, listen. Let me get back to this real quick. Oh, gosh, these people are killing me. All right. This is the one. No, we'll get to this right page for you guys. Got something up there. But yeah, real quick. Let me see. I want to get back to this Grand Bible, man. This thing. Remember we went over that stuff. I'm trying to leave the page up, so that's probably why I'm having so many problems. I got so many pages up for part 2 that I need to be doing. Mm-hmm. Great grandfather. Oh, probably the same scientist involved. Okay. So yeah, let me see. I'm about to pull this up real quick. Get something good for y'all real quick. You already know they only try to mess with me, but man, let's see what it do. We're gonna try to get it going here. Oh, seems like it's moving okay, but as soon as I go to share, it's gonna be an issue. Let's see. Hold on a second, y'all. Let's see if I can get to it. Today's a pretty overwhelming day, so I am actually not too much in a mood for a lot of chit chatter. Maybe better a little later. Right now, I'm just not in the best of moods. I am bringing myself back up to where I need to be, but definitely want to make sure that I went over little things with you guys since we're on here. I can kind of get a couple of things out the way I wanted to talk about. So, Dr. Adrenochrome facts. They playing around with all this stuff, just switching and moving and whew, so weird. All of it's so weird. Okay, let's see. Mm-hmm. Going to the wrong thing, of course. Okay, here we go. All right. Where is the video? Real quick. Y'all just hold on. Okay, there we go. All right, I got the list. Now let me find which one it is. I wanted to get into this yesterday, but the video got to a little bit over 3 hours. Y'all know I don't like to be too extended with these videos, so this particular one was a very good one as well. Talking about these pigs. Talking about these pigs. Okay. All right, let's see. Seemed like you want to try to play.
I don't have any trouble admitting that I'm a racist. I think it's absurd to try to fight with that. I grew up in this society. I was conditioned by it. I think internally in my psyche, I've grounded and rooted those attitudes, and I see it all the time. I don't like being a white man, and that's where I still am and working on it, because I know what I've done, what people like me have done. Part of being white is not in any way acknowledging what it means to be white.
I have a white skin, and that with that white skin comes along a whole mess of privileges that I have, and I don't ask for them; they just are there.
You have started to break the code of silence a little bit. You start talking about white people and talking about this stuff, and you find yourself suddenly
all alone.
The family history, as I understand it, was really, people coming to America as a way of searching for a better life. It has often seemed to me that also meant escaping their roots, where they came from. Is there to separate from that and to become something different?
That I have Scotch-Irish ancestry with a little bit of German. I'm European, and I came over 250 years ago.
My ancestors are from England and Germany.
My ancestors were German and Russian and Scottish.
In my father's side, it was Irish. Side, it was probably English, but I don't know a lot about her side.
I'm French and Indian. Yes, a little Cajun in me.
Ireland. So do you identify as Irish?
No, not really. I identify as an American.
British, Scotch-Irish. Scotch. That's where my ancestors are from, supposedly, but it has any impact on me. Anything.
I think Pilgrims. Where did I come from? I think Pilgrims, but no. But I'm sure somewhere down the line I am.
Because they were Irish, there was a lot of oppression, because they immigrated over from Ireland. So I thought a lot about what that was like for them as Irish people, but I never thought about what it was like for them and when they became white.
When they became white, you guys know we read that the Irish clan that came over here was an Aboriginal clan.
There's something else to negate it, so I guess we became white.
I guess we're white because there's a bunch of other races to set us off.
So how did English people and German people get turned into white?
By assimilation, by living, by living in the U.S. It's just the smorgasbord,
I have no idea. I honestly have no idea.
Do you know how they got turned into British and Scottish people? How those people got turned into white people?
No,
You ever thought about that?
I'm not a history buff. I think culture did that. Over time, it's like certain words that we use in our language are not our words, or other nations, other words that come from other languages.
How did the Irish get turned into white people?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it was early assimilation in the United States, a lot of European ethnics coming over, assimilating for a variety of reasons. Primary one being a desire to elevate their socioeconomic status. So to get jobs, to find places to live, a lot of the Europeans altered their last names to sound more mainstream. A lot of them changed the clothing that they wore, the foods they ate. So there's this, some might call it assimilation. I think of it more as Anglo-conformity, conforming to this kind of dominant white culture.
But the reality is those persons who are white and who are considered white and treated as such in this society, by virtue of being white and treated that way, have had to give up who they really were. If they were Russian American, my father's side of the family, grandfather's side, great-grandfather came here from Russia in 1910. He had to give up what it meant to be a Jew, a Russian Jew from Eastern Europe, to become an American, which really meant to become white. The Irish had to do the same thing. The Italians had to do the same thing. The Greeks had to do the same thing. All these European ethnics who were not white Anglo-Saxon Protestants had to give up their actual identities for the sake of whiteness.
I really didn't think about being white, I'd say, growing up, because mainly I think because I was part of the majority and I maybe wasn't forced to think about it.
I don't think it means anything. It's just, some people might think it means better, but to me it doesn't mean anything but just the color of my skin, really.
How often do you think about being white?
Not very often. I really don't think about it a lot at all.
Hardly ever. It's just me.
Rachel, do you see yourself as a white person?
No, I see myself as a person.
So do you ever think about being a white person?
No.
Probably not very often.
Not really. Sometimes I got a lot of black friends. Sometimes we make jokes about it and everything, but
Not really. It doesn't matter to me whether I'm white, pink, or purple, or black. I don't care. It depends on the social situation. Sometimes I'll be the only white person in the room when it's reversed, when the tables are sort of flipped.
How do you identify racially? Do you see yourself as a white man?
I
think that everybody is equal in the eyes of the Lord.
So you don't see yourself as a white person?
Not as much as most people. I think when it's all said and done, we're equal, and definitely inside and outside.
But I don't know if I ever considered myself white or thought about it. At one point, I'm sure I did, but I don't really have any recollection of when it was, which I think is a total reflection of whiteness, of having to sort of contemplate why people treat you the way they do.
To be white, be a member of a dominant racial group in a society that I'd consider white supremacist. And to be white in a white supremacist society, not just a racist society, because that's almost too generic. To be white in a white supremacist society is to be able to have the luxury of oblivion, to be oblivious to the injustices, to be oblivious to racial privilege, to be oblivious, frankly, to one's own identity. So it is, in a sense, to be invisible to oneself.
Well, I think to be white in this culture means to deny the reality of racism. And it means to deny the privilege that we have as white. People don't want to accept that they are.
People don't want to, because they have a deep level, even though they haven't even, some of them may not, they do know that they get a benefit from being white.
If you're white in this country, there's certain advantages in a way, and it doesn't really matter whether you want or whether you're in touch with it or not.
Now I know there are privileges that I enjoy simply because I'm white.
Every minute of my life, I'm aware of my white privilege, of the fact that I have a white skin, and that with that white skin comes along a whole mess of privileges that I have, and I don't ask for them, they just are there.
There are things that come to me, that belong to me, that I'm given and that I expect just because I'm white, that I never wonder about, ask about, discuss. And that's the power of it, is that the privilege of expecting that I'm going to go to good school and that I'm choices no matter what, that there will always be a choice that will be probably pretty reasonable, that will work out pretty well for me.
To me, it's about privilege. A lot of people to walk around thinking that we live in a meritocracy and thinking that their own hard work is the only thing that's, responsible for their achievements. I think that it means, it has, and I think that it shapes everything.
White privilege is probably the freedom to move through the world fearlessly in a way that Black people cannot move through the world. That you can take advantage of opportunities with much less fear and an assumption that you'll be treated equally with all other white people.
Part of it is not having to even think about it. And so in a way, it's sort of like the privilege of having that space in your mind free to think about other things. So it's not even having to think about race is part of the privilege.
White privilege is being able to walk into a department store and not be followed by the detective.
A friend who's Asian American, she was very unfairly treated at a department store. She was at a cosmetics counter, and she had bought something and it came with a free gift. So the woman at the counter put the free gift in the bag, and my friend didn't know that the free gift put in the one counter and put it in the bag unknowingly. This is the sweetest woman wouldn't hurt a fly. Just and they called the cops on her, and she was taken to jail and arrested. I put myself in the same position that she was at, and I know there's no way I would have been arrested. I know I would not have been arrested.
You know, it's the assumption that when you go to buy a car that you have the money. Well, it's the assumption that when you go into a real estate office looking for a place to rent, unless you wear raggedy clothes, you know, it's that you want to go into this nice neighborhood.
You basically get to be any way you want to. You get privilege. You don't have to work as hard. You can slack off in jobs and still get promoted and still not have to worry about somebody coming after you. So whiteness to me is about privilege and access to information systems and people and power that you didn't earn.
I went through a time where I was poor and I had to take care of my father, and I worked with about 100 African-American men, and I was the only white male on the shop floor. And I was really horrible at this job. It was a metal grinder. I'd grind too much of it. I'd make big indentations. I was constantly messing up, and I was sure I was going to get fired. It was just a matter of time. And about 6 months into the job, the boss and a few of the managers come over. They're all white men. And I thought, this is it. This is the day I'm getting fired. And they came over and told me that they've had their eye on me and they think that I'm management material. I said, what? And they said, yeah, you stick around for a while and we think you've got potential to be a manager here.
It's all embedded in every piece of our country. It's embedded in every structure that we have. It's embedded in our economics. It's embedded everywhere.
When I walk into a bank, or when I walk into anybody's neighborhood, or into anybody's store, that I'm acceptable, that I can go anywhere I want, and I'm seen as a acceptable person. And the reason I am acceptable is because I'm white.
I remember when I was going to get my driver's license renewed for the first time, I really couldn't see very much without glasses. I didn't have any glasses with me. They had you go to one of these machines you look in and see like what letter it is and etc. I couldn't see any of it. I was one of the few white people there, and the guy behind the desk was this older white guy, and he just said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Go ahead." I was like, "Is he just letting everybody through?" And I saw that he wasn't, and I kind of was like, "Oh, okay."
It's the ability to walk into the bank in Savannah when we were ready to build our house and borrow $100, and neither one of us were working. I mean, that to me, that is just so incredible that we could do that. I mean, of course we had to present, we had to give them facts and figures and all that kind of thing. But, if you're a person of color and you walked in and you said, well, we're neither working and they're going to loan you $100,000, I don't think so.
Oh, simple things. I mean, from everything from the ease of getting a bank loan to knowing that I can drive just about anywhere in this, my collar, by the
down the road and I get pulled over by a police officer, it's probably because either I've broken the law or I'm getting a flat tire and the police officer's going to tell me I'm getting a flat tire.
Well, when I get pulled over, I don't get tickets. I'm a white woman, middle class, in a minivan. I get pulled over and it's almost become a joke. And then, the police officers apologize to me for pulling me over, and I know if I was a person of color, that wouldn't happen. I know that I would be pulled over a lot more if I was a person of color because I speed every day. And so I get stopped, they look at my license, and then they let me go,
I've experienced whiteness on the 3 occasions that I've been pulled over by law enforcement driving a car. One time I ran a red light, it was turning red, right? Another time I was speeding, another time I had a headlight out. And every single time I got off with a warning. I never got a ticket for any of those things. It was privilege and whiteness, therefore, that helped get me off. And I think for the average person, it would be whiteness that would allow me not to even have to think about why. I could get away and thinking, I sweet-talked my way out of that. I did, but I was aided by the fact that I'm white.
They're not going to do a body, they're gonna rip my car apart looking for a reason to haul me in. I'm not profiled. That's white privilege.
Basically, when I go to city council or county commission, I expect my representative to take me seriously, and they do for the most part, because they know that they have to be more accountable to the white community, because the white community have money and vote them out of office.
We as white people have a sense of what our rights are, that we have the right to live well, live safely, have health care and police that respond to us, have city officials that pay attention to us, have, you know, the needs of our community, be able to have those met. And I think that if you talk to people of color or look at color, that does not exist for people. That idea of those rights.
The more I know, the more it's like, I've really got to talk about privilege here, you know, even though, I mean, I faced it, I still had whiteness in a way that's given me all this stuff.
And it's all these things which not only give you privilege in the sense of stuff and access, but it validates who you are. You know, so you have this feeling that, you know, I'm important, I'm worthwhile, that other people don't have. You know, they have to get it somewhere else. You know, they might get it from their family or what have you, but I'm going to get it from everyone. You know, with few exceptions.
I was taught that you respected black folk, but not as human beings, more like cats and dogs and cows. You wouldn't mistreat a cat or a dog in my family, and you wouldn't mistreat a black person.
I don't have any trouble admitting that I'm a racist. I think it's absurd to try to fight with that. I grew up in this society. I was conditioned by it. I think internally in my psyche, I've grounded and rooted those time. I mean, I'm always dealing with it. I don't think that makes me a bad person. You know, I don't think that means that I'm grounded in original sin or anything. It is well indoctrinated, but it does also call me to do something about it. I consider myself somebody who does race things and acts on the racism I have within me because of the context of the world in which I grew up and live in.
For me, individually, to recognize and acknowledge that I have the power of race in me, and that I'm going to be. I don't believe I'll ever have a time when I look at anybody and don't see their racification first.
Oh, I hate to admit it, but I still have harder than some black people just because of skin color. I mean, I'm sorry, but that still crosses my mind.
Stereotypes will pop in my head just like everybody else, you know. When I see somebody, a stereotype will pop up, and then I have to say, no, you know, that's a prejudice.
When I'm in a classroom of students, I'll tend to look at the white students more than I'll look at the black students. And when I realized I was doing that, I was shocked. And I tried immediately to begin to train myself to stop doing that. And it was astonishingly difficult. There was something about a natural tendency to look at white faces in a way that I did not have the same natural tendency to look at black faces. And I think that's a kind of an ingrained, inborn racism, is all I can think of it as.
I remember I was talking with a young man named Sylvester, and he was saying, "You're racist." And I'm going, "I'm not." "You are." "I'm not." You know, we went back and forth like that for a while.
Refreshments. I
And
said,
had to go
"Hold
get
on."
refreshments.
Hey,
And I
bro,
went
that's
upstairs, my
crazy.
mother came
And she said, "Look on yourself. You know, you're a white young girl. You've grown up in the racist society. You're racist. Deal with it and move on." But that was you know, that was a gift that my mother gave me, because it allowed me to turn all of my defensiveness into, oh, well, maybe I am.
Maybe I am.
Girl, bye.
Racism and prejudice are very different things.
Yeah.
And all of us have grown up with prejudices. Some of us have prejudice against people of color, people against white people.
And some of us are downright awful about it.
Because so much of the focus is on personal prejudices. That's how I think a large the U.S. population like analyzes race matters is people.
Well, I think it works if Black people feel that people can be racist towards them. I don't see any difference between being racist towards a white person.
In high school I attended was probably 60% Black, 40% white, and being white and in a majority Black class, I was picked on and teased for that. So
sometimes you come across people that feel because of what had happened in the past that we're held responsible. I'm 30 years old. I wasn't around when that was happening.
I know what it feels like to be subjected to anger for something that I personally never did.
If we're in the wrong place sometimes, it's obvious that we're in the wrong place, we're the wrong color to be in that place, you'll hear a comment. You'll hear some things that's not so nice that you would never think that you would hear. You're a little too white to be in this neighborhood.
When I was teaching, I was not privileged because I had to interact with a lot of stereotypes about white people, and I had to deal with them on that level, but I was privileged in the sense that I got the job in the first place.
I think that one of the key things to understand about racism is, like Malcolm X said, racism is like a Cadillac. There's a new model every year, and it's racism is a dynamic social construction, so it's always changing, it's always mutating. So people that say, well, there's no racism anymore, they're referring to racism as it existed in 1950 or 1920 or 1910.
Racism permeates every aspect of our society, and it's made a world that we live in that's very unequal.
It isn't what you personally did or did not do, and I think that's such a hard leap for white people to make. Is like, it isn't something that I personally did, but it's something I personally have to work against.
It ain't just a matter of who I am as a person or what I think or feel.
I think there's a hierarchy in our country that's based very clearly on skin color and on people's perceptions of what race you're in. And white are at the top and Black are at the bottom, and Asian and Native American and people of sort of light brown hue are in the middle, and Latinos are down, and then Blacks are at the bottom.
Racism is not simply about how we get along on an individual level, but it has to do with who has institutional and social power.
White people have the political and social power in our society, and that is a given. And if you look at if you pick apart social and political situations, you can see that very clearly. I think it's quite obvious.
Whites get privilege and experience the advantage of being in a system that thinks white is better than folk of color, and so there's all this unearned advantage that's going on all the time.
Particularly in a society like the United States, it's hard to confront racism unless you understand how, if you're racialized as white, you benefit from racism.
Just because I am white and have these privileges, I participate in a racist system, and that doesn't make that. It's not my fault. I can't help it. I'm born to it, and and that's what being white means.
But I do think and assume that white privilege is in fact the kind of racism that you can't avoid.
All I got to do is sit down and close my eyes, and things are going to just move in white interests. And there's a way in which I'm complicit. I collude. I don't say anything. I don't do anything to stop it or challenge it. And in that way, I really do think that's how racism works, and that's a way in which I'm racist. And the difference now is that I don't try and prove to anyone else or even to myself that I'm not racist. I sort of assume that, know that, and get on with doing anti-racist work as best I can.
I believe that the very depth of understanding racism is understanding that process of us becoming white, historically us becoming white, and exactly what does that mean and how much of our humanity we've lost
Ship they poor ass over here so they can have some, but they talking about they higher class. What the hell?
The degree at which we bought into white is to
Right, they
get
showing pictures of they people. That's how they came in the boatloads.
Exactly. Ain't that shit crazy? But they privileged.
Yeah.
They broke
Look,
ass.
but you can't find pictures of colored folk being on some boats by the thousands like that coming from the islands to the land.
Society is in terms of racial disparity. You realize that
Right. Can we get like one boat pic of a color? Can we get one color picture so we can believe y'all that bullshit y'all pitching? Come on now.
I in no way wanted to identify myself with an oppressor society, an oppressor group. And that was really hard for me.
Calling myself white, that's been hard to actually say I'm a white person. It took longer than me recognizing that I was a white person. You go around and say I'm white.
Get comfortable with it.
Right, with that. Like I was aware that I was white, through the whole process, but it's been a process of being able to say all the time, I'm a white feminist.
It's taking the onion and it's unpeeling the onion, of how racism permeates.
And we keep finding pictures of them by the loads. We keep finding documents saying how they came over, shipping them by the thousands and thousands. Come on now.
English speaking, and seeing that as tools that I can use, and also claiming my identity communally as part of this white community, and seeing that the work that I need and want to be doing is in the white community.
What we have got to do is use the power that we have because of the privilege to kind of tear down those things in the system that hurt other people.
For me, I haven't been able to give up white privilege because you can't until the system is eradicated. It's going to be there. But by struggling against it, by fighting against it, by consciously making a decision to turn against it, I can release myself. I can say to myself, you know what, I'm still receiving these benefits and that's horrible, but at least I'm out there doing something about it. And so there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of really claiming my humanity.
As a white person, I have leverage.
No, you just a trained dog.
As a person, I never had leverage, but as a white person, I have leverage.
And a woman,
you need to close her nasty ass
There's
legs.
leverage among other white people. They take what I say as being more valid. It doesn't seem self-interested to them.
Take what she say more valid.
I have connections everywhere with people that have power who can make decisions or procedures, just all kinds of things. So at that level, I can use my influence.
Use the influence to make decisions to change shit for their rights, even if it's against the law.
Challenges is on how I can personally use the positions that I'm in to help to change the institutions in ways that make it possible for them to really be allied with communities of color and accountable to communities of color. And where people who come to work in those institutions can begin to come into them without feeling like they have to code switch or without feeling like they have to put on another persona in order to survive.
There's this whole world out there that I had no idea about. And as far as I can see, people of color, the ones that I have been close to, and the communities that I've been around, have a lot more figured out about how to be human beings than white people. I think because we're cast as oppressors, we've had to get rid of a lot of pieces of ourselves that are human, and it's deadened us to a lot. I mean, it's deadened our sympathies and our empathies and our heart to other people.
I think that not knowing that you come into this world with all this privilege makes us, doesn't make us good people, in the sense that it doesn't make us, I'll take that back, doesn't make us the people we could be. it takes away from who we really are as true human beings when we start applying this when you start benefiting from something that you didn't earn and you don't acknowledge and you don't do something about.
If you're going along with the status quo and you're not doing something to make change, you're part of the problem. And I think a lot of white people don't want to have that discussion. When we pretend that our school systems are okay and that the criminal justice system is okay and media depictions are okay, and we just go along with it, we are part of the problem.
If I do nothing in this world because it is set up for me and mine, and because the systems operate for my benefit, then I am perpetuating that system. I am letting it go on.
I call that shit trash
I am
wash.
benefiting from.
Yeah, that was a lot of bullshit. Yo, sis. You on mute.
Oh, dang, I'm just a talking. I said, yeah, so what do you think about the let's start with the pig man.
Well, you know, it's
What do you think about this?
I'm gonna tell you something, man. Like people don't like, you know, a lot of people use the word research alone. You can't use the word research alone, right? Without investigation, thorough investigation, tangible evidence, you know, things like that, right? But it's actually the pig man is connected to a lot of pig people that still exist. A lot of them are in front of us on movie screens. They get their nose changed. And you can tell because their nostrils go straight up and down, like just like his and shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of them down there in Louisiana that lives in the swamps.
The pig people.
The pig people, yeah. Them and the Cajuns have been mixing and shit. But like Jennifer Aniston, look at Jennifer Aniston. Look at her nose. Got her nose done, but you can see the pig, you know what I'm saying, the pig people in them. You know what I'm saying? Like their nostrils are straight up and down instead of going sideways.
Looking real crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But then again, you got
But
the
yeah,
they didn't want to start talking about the people, the kids that's born in full fur. They don't want to talk about their other relatives that's born with green, like skin.
so I got another good one for y'all real quick.
All right,
Let's check this out.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause that.
All right, bro. Let's get it.
They was given notice out on the street, leave town, leave town. They're killing all of the black people.
An entire community was destroyed. Their wealth was taken from them.
It looked as if it was Hiroshima. Atomic bomb had gone off. What few trees were left had no leaves. They were just charred.
And then the story was suppressed until almost now.
The Greenwood District, or what it becomes known as Black Wall Street.
These are people who own their own homes. They had their own businesses. It was a...
What happened in 1921 on May 31st through June the 1st was 18 hours of terror.
So I never want to see anything like that again.
We don't know who fires the first shot. But that begins a bloodbath. Americans are attacked in their homes. They are machine gunned down in the streets. Sound of bullets hitting their home.
Smoke and flames are everywhere.
They set fire to the curtains so the houses will burn. Airplanes for flying over the city and dropping turpentine. Murder
Wasn't the only event that took place during a period known as the Red Summer of 1919.
Ultimately, covered up. There are generations of folks who grew up in Tulsa who never heard about this.
Aftermath of the race massacre, and there is rebuilding.
Will, ingenuity, and determination of Black people to make a way out of nowhere. The charred remains of their hopes, the embers of their dreams, and yet from that wreckage,
We built for doing shit, starting shit, and getting it going. That's what we built for. It's in our blood. We do this.
Reparations and repair.
Good evening to you. I'm Gail King. 100 years, one of the ugliest chapters in American history took place. The massacre of 300 Black people by their white neighbors and the destruction of the Greenwood section of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Greenwood was a source of pride for Blacks back in 1921. Famed educator Booker T. Washington coined the business district the Negro Wall Street because it was so prosperous and rich with many Black-owned businesses. Tonight, we will explore what happened that day. What was behind the single worst incident of racial violence in American history? Survivors, descendants, and historians try to explain why it happened and how the city and the country still struggle to move on from this tragedy. So here's a question. What did happen on May 31st,
The Greenwood District was a segregated residential and economic district because it had to be, because of legal segregation that prevailed, not just in Tulsa, but really all over much of the United States.
They built schools, they built churches, they were educated, they had social clubs, unity. They had their own businesses.
These are mostly small businesses, all concentrated in this 35 square block area that abutted downtown, also separated by Frisco Drive.
Mind you guys, this is the same time that we watched yesterday that was going on in the
success of Greenwood. Whites understood that economic prosperity would ultimately lead to racial equality, social equality. Racial equality, social equality was a non-starter. Segregation was the rule of the land.
What was life like in Greenwood then? I asked two survivors of the 1921 massacre. Viola Fletcher is 107.
Well, we had friends and played
100.
visit with neighbors and was happy there with our parents. Just love being there.
She might be my family.
A pretty nice place. They had theater and they had other places of recreation and they had churches and they came in tore it all down.
In Greenwood, circa 1921. And not one of those businesses are left.
Tulsa Race Massacre occurs, triggered, catalyzed by an event between two teenagers, a black teenage boy, Dick Rowland, 19 years old, who shined shoes downtown, a white girl, Sarah Page, 17 years old, who operated an elevator in a downtown building called the...
We don't know exactly what actually happens, but upon entering, we think he may have tripped and bumped into the white operator, Sarah Page. She screamed.
Sis. Damn, man, this motherfucker just started acting weird. Okay, she back. Okay. Hey, you know when we be going there and they start going weird, I'm like, oh man, I'm sitting there listening to then just the video just blank. I had to walk back over to the phone like, shit, what the hell?
Would put up a vigorous, albeit short-lived defense. They were outnumbered, outgunned.
The sheriff has deputized a number of white citizens who have no training in law enforcement, mob control. They have now been given legal permission to participate in mayhem, looting, and murdering.
Some of the people in the Greenville community had fine things like pianos in China and so forth.
I saw them break in people's houses and just destroy. That's all I saw. Destroy.
And it was given notice. So
Man, and I'm about to get y'all the link because I ain't got.
Yeah,
on the street, leave town. They're
Damn it. Hey, sis, I'm gonna fall off and see if it'll help the connection.
I can't win for losing. I can't win for losing. What's up, Red Square, bro? I seen you up there. I couldn't even click on the other comments. It was acting so retarded. Peace, brother. Thanks for coming through. Chai Alpha, peace, bro. Peace. This thing acting real retarded. Yep, I got another video showing the leaving out out from those areas, brother. I'm trying to cover everything, man. But you already see this thing will not let me finish or complete what I'm trying to do. I'll be on the zone. When I'm in my zone, I'm going to put up to y'all everything that's in my mind the way I'm seeing it. And y'all already know it's got to be something to interrupt that, but it's cool. I'm about to try it one more again. Let's see what to do, y'all. We're going to see if we can get it going. I paused this, so let's see. I'm going to try it again. If not, I'm going to give y'all the link. We're going to keep it moving. Y'all can still watch it. Then when we come up on the next video, we can kind of comment on the things that we were seeing. You know, this is crazy. Quentin, peace, brother. Peace, peace. Chilling, bro. Chilling. Let's see what this thing do. About to try it again. All right, all right. Seems like it's going. Let's go. I took it back a little bit for y'all in case y'all missed something.
Of the massacre, all hell broke loose after that. The violence lasted roughly 16 hours. A black man in the Greenwood community put up a vigorous,
good,
albeit short-lived, defense that were outgunned.
The sheriff has deputized a number of white citizens who have no training in law enforcement, mob control. They have now been given legal permission to participate in looting.
Some of the people in the Greenwood community
had fine things like pianos in China and so forth.
I saw them break in people's houses and just destruction. That's all I saw, just destruction.
And it was given notice out on the street, leave town, leave town. They're killing all of the black people.
My mother looked out the front door and she saw 4 men with torches walking from the street sidewalk to our house. And all of a sudden, she says, all of you get up under the bed, quick, quick. And all of us scrambled. They came in and set fire to her hand over my mouth to be sure to stop me, because she could tell I was fixing to holler because it hurt.
People are shooting guns and killing people and all. If we don't leave, they'll do us that way.
Many eyewitnesses report that plunges on the community. So these would have been nitroglycerin or kerosene bombs that caused the flames to spread more rapidly and burn more brilliantly. So this had a devastating impact on the community.
Men came in and started shooting in. A lot of people being murdered.
These people escape their homes. Some are shot down in the street. Others are gathered by the convention hall.
Stripped of their civil rights, Black children were forced to leave their homes, and they are forced with their hands
to be paraded through the streets, taken to internment
so they could take their damn land.
Centers throughout the city, very much like people of Japanese ancestry.
I would say it's not just a massacre. This was intentional and systematic. It is a military style assault on a civilian community.
Do you think about that day a lot, or do you try never to think about it?
Oh, no, I think about it every day. I think it'll be something I'll never forget. The people getting killed had to give up our home and all.
I want the world to know I never want to see anything else like that anymore. And I hope it never happens again.
The destruction of Greenwood left behind rubble and ashes in its wake. but it also caused harm to generations of descendants who lost more than their ancestors and material wealth. They lost a legacy of success that is hard to imagine or quantify.
My earliest memory of hearing about the Dreamland Theater was in high school when my mother mentioned it to me. And it wasn't like she talked in depth about what happened. It was mainly on the Dreamland Theater. They were the first Black Tulsans to have a car, but how they lost everything was never really discussed. I'm Danya Backus, a CBS News correspondent and descendant of Black Wall Street. My great-great-grandparents, John and Lula Williams, owned the Dreamland Theater, the Williams Confectionery, and an auto garage. The picture of the American dream. The Dreamland Theater was a 750-seat theater, and it did not just show silent movies, but apparently it had acts, they had boxing matches. My great-great-grandmother Lula actually had 2 other locations. So the Dreamland Theater was this entertainment hub for Tulsa, but it also was, I think, the beginning of an empire.
Sean Rogers Jr. I'm the co-CEO of Ariel Investments. With the fact that my great-grandfather, J.B. Stratford, owned the Stratford Hotel that was burned down during the famous Tulsa Race Massacre 100 years ago. J.B. Stratford was an extraordinary entrepreneur, someone who had this knack of building businesses and creating enormous. The Stratford Hotel at its peak was the largest African-American owned hotel in the United States. Not only did it have this 54-room hotel that was very large for its time, but it had a pool hall.
I'm Danya Backus in Tulsa, Oklahoma, uncovering the history of Black Wall Street. To know part of this history, it has taken on a new meaning and this is where the Dreamland Theater was, right here. And now it's a freeway. Even now, as I talk to elders of the family about what happened, even cousins who grew up in Tulsa, now just starting to put together all of the pieces. This is the pillar that pays homage to our family. The W.D. Williams talked about. Many of them don't know.
This is David Williams here.
The assumption is that it was just live those memories. Great-grandfather in the community, and he was one of the first survivors to be interviewed.
Well, next morning, all this shooting started over. You remember getting shot at when you ran across the street? Oh yeah, you could hear bullets on the street.
Hearing that firsthand, it hit me in a way that reading about it is one thing. But I think when you actually hear it, and you hear it from someone who you know is a part of your family, it impacts.
In his memoir, what really happened that day, he said, I was sitting in the window of the lobby looking westward. I saw an airplane approaching the hotel from the west. It came sailing like a huge bird in the direction of the hotel about 200 feet above the ground. And just before it reached the hotel, it swerved a little and fired through the transoms and plate windows. J.B. Stratford not only lost all of the property that he owned and the Stratford Hotel, but I think most importantly, psychologically, and I understand this as an entrepreneur, he'd put his heart and soul into that hotel, and see it destroyed overnight was just gut-wrenching. And when he came to Chicago afterwards, he had these dreams of trying to recreate his success that he'd had in Tulsa, and to be able to build a new hotel and build new pool halls and have things that are successful. never was able to remotely achieve the success that he had in Tulsa.
W.D. Williams, my great-grandfather, talks about sleeping in a tent for about 6 months until they started rebuilding. The Dreamland Theater was rebuilt. The Williams building where the dictionary and where they lived, that was rebuilt. In order for them to be able to rebuild the Dreamland Theater on Black Wall Street, they had to basically sell the other 2 theaters. So they were able to rebuild, but it was never what it was pre the massacre. Hatred, jealousy weigh our family's chance of generational wealth. I could have been an heir to an image that was all wiped away.
And understand the $120,000 hotel and the property that J.B. Stratford had in 1921, 100 years later, it would be worth well over $100 million. Broadly speaking, it would have been transformative for opportunities in our family. There's very little multi-generational wealth in the African American community. We haven't had that chance to be able to leave inheritances and have family members living off of the dividends of the work that their ancestors accomplished.
It makes me angry to know that so many people went out of their way to make sure that this history was not learned about. It makes me angry to know that my ancestors had to hold on to that trauma for so long as well. I think that it's really scary to know still some fears that I know they experienced that I still experience today, to know that that hatred and jealousy still lives in some people.
This idea that you could have this extraordinary success story where African Americans were fully participating in our capitalist democracy. No one at the time dreamed it could just all go away overnight, that it could be firebombed and destroyed. And as we continue to face our community, we have to remember this history and inspire all of us to fight even harder for economic and social justice.
The Tulsa Massacre did not happen in a vacuum. Between 1917 and 1923, thousands of Black people were killed, their homes and businesses destroyed, and as many as 26 race massacres across the country. In 1919, civil rights activist and writer James Weldon Johnson called it the Red Summer and bloodshed.
The Red Summer of 1919 was coined that because of the lynchings, because of the death of so many Black people.
In the years just prior to the Red Summer, there was almost 500,000 African Americans in the first wave of the Great Migration.
You saw Black people fanning out from Mississippi up Chicago, along the Delta, from Georgia and Alabama to North Carolina up to New York, from Louisiana over to Los Angeles. It was tremendous.
Massacres during the Red Summer weren't necessarily isolated to one part of the country. They really in the South, New England, the Midwest, the Plain States, the Pacific Northwest. Racial violence can be seen in nearly every state in the Union.
Remember, 15 or thereabouts, with Birth of a Nation, a cinematic portrayal of Black men with unrequited desire to rape white women. As a result of that, there's a buzz in the atmosphere. The Ku Klux is on the rise.
You have the President of the United States, Woodrow Wilson, in the White House. This is the messaging that was coming from the White House.
War, 2 million men and have suffered 350,000 casualties.
If Black people supported the American war effort,
Perhaps that would create white goodwill, perhaps Black experience in elevation and status in America.
Black men went off to World War I. They saw what could be. They understood the significance of democracy.
Black veterans returning to America expecting the same kind of freedom because they've been in defense of American democracy.
But what we saw was the opposite. Instead of white goodwill, we saw white lynch mobs and white mobs attacking Black communities.
And one of the tensions was that you got a Black people in place when you came back than when you left. And what's that? Oh, they took my job. Oh, what's that? They're occupying space in the culture that used to be occupied by me financially and economically, mills and in shops.
There was a great majority of white citizens who saw people as, who are you to have that house, to have that college degree, to build that school, to not clean my house? Who are you to wear some of the finest clothes? It was more of not have, but I am.
So whether it was these soldiers returning home, if it was African Americans that had attained some level of power, or white, any incidents, whites, and especially poor whites, considered to be kind of a threat to their was a spurring factor.
One of the deadliest, quote unquote, occurred in Chicago.
In Chicago in 1919 was African-American boy named Eugene Williams, who had floated from what was considered black water into white water.
Eugene was swimming. He inadvertently crossed the 29th Street, barrier that separated Black and white communities, swimming.
And the white beachgoers ended up stoning him to death. And he was really just a child.
Because of the stoning to death set off several days of conflagration between white and Black.
They would yell. I heard my uncle say, "Here they come." And that it meant that the white folks were coming down 35th Street.
And 23 Black people dead, 15 white people dead. Black people are not taking it lying down. Returning soldiers and veterans would grab their guns and rifles to defend themselves and to not be victims of country.
Even somewhere north and somewhere kind of considered progressive like Chicago's, invisible lines of where Black people were allowed to be and not allowed to be. Elaine, Arkansas, likely that over 200 people died in what's known as the Elaine Massacre. Many of the sharecroppers in the region were historically not given enough pay for their cotton when it came time to sell, and so they formed their own union, which was seen as an uprising by the local white landowners. So it became kind of a manhunt throughout the town and throughout the countryside. These are hardworking families that were being gunned down in the street for wanting to organize their labor and receive more equitable pay.
People became target practice. Women, children, men, until the military came in and brought it to a halt. There was a hearing afterward of African-American men accused of starting this event. And it took the NAACP to come in.
You can drive through Rosewood, Florida, in about 52 about the ugly American story that happened.
In Rosewood, Florida, 1923, a man was accused of attempting to rape a white woman. The result was that a group of white citizens went to confront this man at his home, the threat of violence and death, and ultimately they destroyed the...
You could hear them shooting. You could hear them, people screaming, hollering. We could see fire burning, the light from the fire from a distance. We know that what they was doing. They was burning up people's homes and killing them.
There was a thriving Black community in this Rosewood area, and they killed several people, and many of the people had to leave their homes and run to the railroad tracks. And ultimately, many of the people who were killed were...
Wow, I'm just talking and shit and I'm muted. Okay. Anyway, what I was trying to say, guys, any freaking time we turn around with any of these tragedies, these stories, even when you seen that just there, when it happened in the Black Wall Street area, the boy was in the elevator. He accidentally fell and tripped and bumped the girl, so now he attacked her. Every time we turn around to any of these tragic stories, it always goes back to the same old story of the black boy attacking the white girl. The black boy raped the white girl. The black boy touched the white girl. The black boy said something to the white girl. The black boy did. It's every freaking time. Do y'all ever notice that? It's never anything else that has set off any of these riots or anything that's happened in these particular areas or these towns where they're abusing and misusing our people, right? So it's always the black boy against the white girl. What does that do? That puts it in the premise that all these black men always want white women. All the black men want white women. They want the white women so bad they're willing to die for them. It don't matter if what, no matter what that it does, if they're gonna get hung or shot or burned to the stake or whatever's gonna happen, a black man is always gonna go after a white woman. He always wants a white woman. He just desires her so much. Do y'all see that premise of this shit? Every time with one of these lion stories, it says the same thing. He looked like like an Australian man, like an Aboriginal Australian. But yeah, this is the Red Summer, right? 1919. Yep. So many stories that happened to us that were not massacres. White people tried to come in, but was downed. They tried to come in. Brothers say they was trying to come in, but they was down. They saying a lot of that, but it was a lot of massacres that did happen. That all were tragic, but not as much was just a bunch of black people being killed. Yes, yes. So my thing is this: they use these things as an excuse, right? And then they're putting the premise in the head that this white woman is wanted so bad; she's the most wanted thing in the world. Where a black man is willing to risk his life and anything just to touch her, just to kiss her, just to rape her and have sex with her one time. He is willing to put his life on the line in the life of every black person in their neighborhood. Do y'all not see the premise of that? Do y'all not see that this is the story y'all hear about everybody and everything? Every time we turn around, it's the same thing, right? It's always the same shit. It's always about this white boy wanting this white woman. This black man touched this white woman. She's the precious. They want to do the flip flop. This is the GMO of the Black Madonna. Did y'all hear me talk about the Black Madonna? I gave you guys all the information on that and the core energy of this entire Earth and the planisphere. Everything is based off of the ley lines and everything is based off of the Black Madonna, the Black Virgin, which is what? The black womb, the black ionic womb. I keep telling y'all, I've been telling y'all for the year I've been around here. Nobody seemed to really get this whole factor of the shit of what's going on. So this energy that they keep manipulating and playing with y'all with, right? They've been doing it forever. So look, they sit here and have everybody think, yeah, they all spread out and it's all set up, all the same shit. They plotted their plan. She said they literally dropped the kerosene bomb. So they plotted everything. They had the planes come out, set the kerosene bomb so the fires could go further. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, they did all that intentionally. So we know what these evil ass people are capable of. We know what they do all the time. So it's not a surprise, right? But we do have to realize that these things are all going on at the exact same time. So this was a story and a plot and a plan. I keep telling y'all it's a story. Everything that they plan out, and if it go wrong, they'll make something else and they'll try to play that story out. And if we participate in it, that's up to us. And the people in the city came to fight off the mob who tried to pull him out the jail and they couldn't get in. Exactly. Right. Yeah, yeah. We always try to save our people. We ain't suckers. We stand up. We stand up for what we want. We don't play games like that. That's what we about. Yeah, we like to handle business. So basically, y'all, so let's finish it real quick because I'm about to get out of here, guys. I got something to do. But we may have to finish this a later time. But I'm gonna put the link in the chat. So you gotta be able to finish the entire video.
Learning about these incidents,
art and oral histories of people that were there. We thought there was maybe 24 events during the Red Summer.
Y'all gotta watch this. This is deep.
What happens during Red Summer 1919? None of that should we are today. Because the issue of race is still a lingering lingering issue in this nation. How did Tulsa deal with the aftermath of the killing and destruction on May 31st and June 1st? Black and white Tulsans did not talk about the massacre for different reasons.
About the massacre for different reasons, but off and on, there was a rebuilding.
Greenwood immediately after the occur as one of the great heroic stories in American history. Can you imagine having your business and your home destroyed, and the people who do it are never prosecuted, never held accountable?
There wasn't much left but smoldering embers. Fortunately, though, the human spirit reigned supreme.
The same men who just lost their own loved ones, lost their own businesses, those individuals came back to their stored our basement. And our basement was a central hub until the rest of Greenwood was developed.
Immediately after the massacre, there was an effort by the city to rebuild in the community. Fortunately, we have a lawyer in the community called B.C. Franklin. B.C. Franklin challenged those efforts to extend the fire code successfully. He represented a number of massacre victims with their legal claims as well. So the community fought on every front to rebound and build.
Federal troops were sent to Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921 to put down race riots that had ended in the district.
Instead of what it was, which was a massacre.
This was not just some casual journalistic term that was tossed around to rebuild.
Those insurance companies did not pay out on those policies due to the fact that the event was classified as a riot versus being many families who had businesses outside of Tulsa, like theater, they had a couple of locations to have money, income to come in. However, all of the businesses in Greenwood who had insurance, they did not get paid out due to these events.
We now have minutes from the Chamber of Commerce from that era, from the City Commission. And what you see in the days immediately after it happened was widespread recognition by city leaders throughout the community that this was a major source of shame and embarrassment for our city. And the best way for Tulsa happened.
I used to be a reporter for the CBS affiliate here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I remember going, how come nobody's talking about this?
This used to be the West Archer lunchroom right here. It's the only remembrance, but if you look up what used to be the lunchroom is now the minor league ballpark. Your lunchroom right
We
here.
said the Greenwood
It's the only
Community
remembrance, but if you
that
look
what
up what used to be the lunchroom
at the time of the massacre was 40
is now the minor league
Now that's down to half of
ballpark.
Well, I think there are two.
When we say the Greenwood community,
phases in the history of Greenwood that you have to focus on. There's the immediate, and there is rebuilding in that period of time. But then you have urban renewal hit Tulsa in the 60s and the 70s when you see entire neighborhoods bulldozed, which are still vacant land today. That's when you see a highway built right through the middle of Greenville there today.
As a reporter, you notice it. Why are the folks who live in North Tulsa not as affluent as South?
and what we see happening in much of Greenwood south of the highway is not Black owned. We see a lot of development, a lot of what they call gentrification. I like to call it what it is, land theft.
A lot of land was stolen from us. Then you burn us down and we rebuild accordingly. And then you come and tear us back down. I mean, current day, our whole goal is to protect and preserve what we currently have.
In order for the city to receive their upgrades, they had to
When I came to the Green, wasn't much going on, not nearly as much that it's going on now. There's new buildings going up. I just don't know how much of the Black community has any influence on what goes up.
They're building white-owned businesses that are going to benefit white Tulsans and not the Black community, which has been pushed further out north into a community that has not received any investment for decades.
I actually own and operate Rose Tax Solutions, full-service boutique firm located right on Greenwood Avenue, across the street from my dad. He has a bail bonds company, and 2 doors down from my nieces who own a restaurant, Wanda J's, and across the street from a coffee shop where my cousin is a co-owner.
We have 26 businesses in those buildings. So to go from 600 in 1921 to 26, it's nowhere near what we have.
Businesses and leaders not to be in place in order to actually get contracts accepted to build and construct again. You take away a group of tools who don't have that same option. That's our goal, is to own. We don't want to keep.
How weird would it be if they build this up and everybody comes to see Black Wall, but it doesn't have that feel of Black Wall Street? The Black community say in the rebuilding of what was theirs that they originally.
Everyone. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, guys, I got to get out of here. I had a couple of things I got to do real quick. I'm going to try and do another live this evening if everybody isn't live. You know how they like to do like 9-hour streams. So if they're busy, I don't want to intercede. I'll just let everybody, do what they do and catch you guys at another time when it's free out here. So, yeah, I'm about to get out of here and make a couple of runs, but I did put that link in the chat, guys, right here. You can finish watching that video. It was very, very interesting. I gained a lot of information out of a lot of these things that we've been showing. So hopefully you guys will be able to enjoy the rest of that video and some other things I got planned for you guys. I got some information I want to go over. It's just a lot of times when I'm not real focused, I don't like to read because y'all know how I get. I get a little mixed up with my talking. I get frustrated. So I don't even want to do all that nonsense. So what we're going to do is get back at it. Yeah, our libraries, you already know, bro. Come on now, taking all our shit. And they wonder why our people don't mind burning their shit. Say it, bro. Say it. Come on now. Come on. Where the warriors at, though? All right, y'all. Let me shut up. All right, peace, love, blessings. Everything is everything. Y'all the best of everything. Y'all know that. My chat is everything. And I love you guys. Y'all have a great day. Peace, love, blessings, and I'm out.